Hi gang, and today we're talking dongle DACs, or more specifically this, the Questyle M15 DAC, which was kindly sent to me by Questyle for review. Now this is a diminutive external DAC and amp which you can hook up to your smartphone to upgrade your audio experience over wired headphones instantly. Now these dongle DAC products are an easy audio upgrade, and there are many well-established popular models already out there, including this, the well-known AudioQuest Dragonfly Red, which is part of the Dragonfly series. And I've been using this one for many years, and I know a lot of you are also into the Dragonfly Cobalt. Now at £220, the M15 sits between the £170 Dragonfly Red and the more expensive £250 Cobalt, which I don't have. Of course, it's double the price of this, which is my favourite BTR5, which, as well as being a DAC and amp, also has Bluetooth connectivity and a built-in battery. So let's take a closer look at the M15. Now, in my opinion, it's beautifully designed and feels really premium. The aluminium chassis is understated, whilst the glass panel on top allows you to peer at the innards, and that circuit board truly is exquisitely laid out. We have here an ESS 9281 working on the DAC duties and providing support for up to PCM 384 or DSD 256, and it also boasts MQA capability if you care about that. I know a lot of you are going to flame me instantly in the comments, but hey, some people do enjoy Tidal Masters with MQA. This will handle it. Now the amplification circuits are interesting, as they feature a design which Questyle call current mode amplification rather than the more typical voltage mode amplification. And that theoretically means, and you physics geeks will have to correct me if I'm wrong, that the power output of the M15 is less dependent on the impedance of the headphones, and therefore this little thing should be able to drive some fairly beefy over-ear high impedance cans, but we'll come back to that later. Now on the unit itself you get a high and low gain switch on the side and outputs for both 3.5 and balanced Pentacon connections. You do need a USB-C adapter cable to connect it to your smartphone. So for an Android phone that will typically be a USB-C to USB-C, or with an iPhone you'll need a Lightning to USB-C cable. You do get the USB-C to USB connectors in the box, but I believe the Lightning adapter is extra. Now the one thing I've noticed in operation, and it probably is because of all that amplification power, is that this thing does get noticeably warm after prolonged use. And it also seems to have a bigger power draw than the BTR5 when it's hooked up and charging, or the Dragonfly Red. And if your smartphone doesn't have a great battery, that might have a bit of an impact. Now there are a couple of LEDs on the unit, and they light up when the unit's plugged into the phone, but there also has to be output plugged in as well. And there are only two LEDs. One of them is an indicator of whether you're in high gain or low gain mode, and the other one roughly tells you the sample rate, but it's not very accurate. So you've got either up to 48 kilohertz, high res files, or MQA. Now sadly, and unlike the BTR5, and similarly to the Dragonfly Red, there's no volume control on the unit itself. You can only control the volume via the smartphone. Okay, so I tested this with a number of IEMs and headphones which I own, going all the way up to the power-hungry Hyperman Sundaras and the high-impedance HD 650s from Sennheiser. And I have to say, first things first, I'm really impressed. I've been listening to a whole load of new stuff lately, including the Mars Volta's eponymous new album, Cool It Down, which is a long-awaited new album from the Yeah, and EBM by The Editors, which is a much more electronic tinged slice of indie rock, as you can imagine from the name. So let's get the important stuff out of the way first. The M15 is, in my opinion, the best sounding dongle DAC that I've tested. There's just oodles of dynamism and drive to the lively presentation here, but also there's plenty of finesse and detail. So for example, fire up the first track, Spitting Off the Edge of the World, on the Yeah album, and you'll be impressed by how well articulated the bass line and synth that kick off the song are. And that bass, it reaches really deep and is beautifully textured. And if you pair it with some decent IEMs like the 7Hz Timeless, which are really good at reproducing bass, you'll be really happy. You'll be enveloped in this warm bass blanket. The mid-range definition and separation is really excellent, getting the best out of my Shure SE846 IEMs. Now there's no hint of digital harshness at all. Everything sounds pretty smooth compared to the BTR5, which I think also sounds pretty fantastic, as you know. With the M15, we get a slightly livelier and more open sounding presentation. There's just a feeling of more space between the elements of the mix, and it certainly sounds a bit more lively. I would say that the BTR5 sounds a little bit more toned down, much more neutral. This one sounds more exciting. Now the comparison with the Dragonfly Red is interesting. The Dragonfly also sounds quite smooth, but overall the M15 sounds just a little bit sharper, more detailed, but not at all grainy or fatiguing. If anything, in comparison to the M15, the Dragonfly Red sounds just a little bit veiled. Now, you can really tell the difference between the two listening to something like the 2018 remix of Dogs from Pink Floyd's underrated, criminally underrated actually, album Animals. We get much more clarity and a little bit more expression through the M15 when listening to that absolute monster of the second track from that album. The situation only gets better when you hook the M15 up to full-size headphones. And of the three dongle DACs that I've mentioned in this video, it's only this one, the M15, that can drive the Sundaras and the HD 650s really well. It's astonishing how much juice this little dongle can generate, particularly when you flick the switch into high gain mode, and it really does fill out the sound, particularly of the Sundaras, which don't sound as if they're lacking, as they can sometimes do if you're listening directly through a audio output from your headphone. They just sound anemic, but not at all with the M15. Now, I do have one or two gripes with the M15, as you can imagine, because no product is perfect. And firstly, despite all the RF shielding that Questyle say that they've equipped both the unit and the cable with, I did get some electromagnetic interference occasionally when the thing was hooked up to my phone. That can be annoying during quiet passages of music. Now, it's worse if you're moving around and the cable's moving. It's not so bad if you've got it stock still on a desk. Now, it's not a deal breaker, but it's certainly not a completely black background like you get with the BTR5. Secondly, and this is a bit more of a nuisance for me, the lowest volume setting on my Sony or iPhone is a little bit too high for me when using sensitive IEMs like the SE846. And that means that I have to chuck an extra volume attenuator into the mix, which is an extra thing to carry around. I would say just be careful when you first hook it up to your phone. Make sure the volume on your phone hasn't defaulted to maximum settings and that you've got it on low gain mode. You can tell it's in low gain because one of the LEDs is green rather than red. If you don't do that, then I think you do run the risk of blowing out your eardrums. It should be suboptimal, let's face it. Overall though, I do love this little dongle DAC, and it has become my go-to portable DAC if I'm after top sound quality. It is much better, in my opinion, than the Dragonfly Red, and I haven't got a Dragonfly Cobalt, to be fair, so I can't compare those. I still do prefer the versatility and functionality though of the BTR5 and the Bluetooth capability and the inbuilt battery, and it makes it a much more convenient and versatile solution when I'm on the go. And remember, if you're in a noisy environment, you're not going to really be able to tell the difference between the sound of these two units apart. Also remember that whatever DAC you hook up to an Android phone, you will need to contend with the Android sample rate conversion issue, unless you're using a dedicated app like UAPP, or indeed the Tidal app, which on my Sony seems to natively output to this DAC no trouble. It doesn't do it to the BTR5 for some reason. It's a bit odd. But anyway, I've done another video on audio gremlins with Android phones. You can go and watch that. But to draw this thing to a conclusion, I love the Questyle M15. It sounds great. It looks spectacularly cool if you're a geek like me, which I know you all are. My only criticism, other than, actually not my only criticism, another criticism I guess, is just the price, which certainly puts it in the premium range of dongle DACs, and not a lot of people perhaps are going to spend over £200 on a dongle DAC. But if you are in that market and you're looking for something to instantly upgrade your smartphone quality, I can heartily recommend the Questyle M15, and it's more than worthy of an Audio Fixation Silver Award. So well done, Questyle. Thank you for sending it to me. As ever, I didn't get paid or sponsored for making the video, but I have had the product free of charge to review for the past couple of weeks. So that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy my content, I'd be very grateful for a like, and a subscription would be even better. And keep watching for more videos coming up. I've got some good ones in the pipeline, including a look at the new version 2 Rune software with Rune Arc. If you're not aware of what that is, you definitely want to keep watching. And I might just have to make a video about the new Apple AirPods Pro 2. Let me know if you'd like to see either of those. Stay safe, everyone, and I'll see you next time.